Am I the a-hole for letting our son use his untouched college fund as a down payment on a house and not using it to pay off our daughter's student loans? Our son just graduated college. He was extremely studious in high school and was able to get a full scholarship to the school of his choice. The college fund we saved for him therefore went untouched. Our daughter is a couple years older than our son. Despite our best efforts, she was never the greatest student. So while she was able to go to college, she received no scholarship money. The college fund we saved for her, which actually amounted to a little more than what we saved for our son, covered about half her tuition, with loans making up the rest. Our son did extremely well in college and graduated with a great job. We therefore decided to gift him his college fund to use as a down payment on a house. And with the stock market's gains over the last 4 years, it's grown quite a bit since he went off to school. Our daughter was furious when she found out that our son's college fund went towards him buying a house. She said that he's already way ahead of her in life, since he graduated debt-free with a much better paying job than our daughter's, and it's not fair to put him even further ahead. She maintains the fair thing to have done is to have put our son's fund towards paying off her loans. Both my husband, our son, and I think our daughter is being entitled, but she told some of our extended family how unfair we're being and they're taking her side. Are we somehow the unfair ones here? Now for the top comments. I'm inclined to say not Dayhall. This is a classic fair versus equal issue. Fair would say that both kids graduate debt-free, so long as you have the money to do so. That is, everyone gets what they need regardless of who needs more. While equal would say that each kid gets the same amount regardless of need. Neither is wrong, and given your kids aren't owed a college fund, you're already being very generous. It's really up to you whether you choose to be fair or to be equal. You choose equal. Each kid gets their own fund, and that's completely valid. Most wills choose equal too, giving each child the same amount regardless of who needs it more. My friend's parents chose fairness, leaving their money to their social worker son rather than their daughter married to a well-paid executive. But needs changed and they left her, cleaning out their accounts. He did have to share assets eventually, but she did not get alimony, have to be married 20 years in my state, and her standard of living is now lower than her brother's. That is super crappy. I would hope the son would realize this and give half his inheritance to his sister, which would be unlikely. I would have given a disproportionate amount to my child in greater need, but not 100% versus none. I'm sure her parents would be sad/ashamed at how it worked out. Not Dayhole. You had the same amount of money earmarked for each kid. Your daughter isn't entitled to more because she struggled more. You were perfectly fair giving them the same amount, and they used it the way each of them needed to. Actually, they said they saved up more money in the daughter's fund. Not Dayhole. The goal of college funds isn't to have complete equity of outcomes. It's to provide the same resources to each child. Kids will have different scholarships or differently priced schools, and that will impact how far their funds go. Presumably, you do the same for your daughter if the situation was flipped. Now, for the next story. Am I the a-hole for rejecting my stepkid's younger siblings from my daycare? I married my husband 10 years ago. My stepkids were 4 and 5 at the time, now 14 and just turned 16. My husband's ex has despised the fact my husband and I married before her and her husband. And she has made her hatred of me/us known to my stepkids, and in turn, my stepkids have closed themselves off from me and rejected my attempts to get close to them. We've been to court, we have presented proof to the judge, taken them to therapy, but mom's hold over them is strong, and her words are taken more seriously than my husband's with the kids. I tried to be a loving, caring stepmother who didn't overstep, but my stepkids have been perfectly clear. I am nothing to them and will always be nothing to them. So I am less hyper-focused in what they think of me. For years, it kept me awake at night with worry and sadness. Now, I'm sad. Breaks my freaking heart that I love them and they don't reciprocate because of some dumb issue their mom had with me that turned to hate. But it's the cards we have been dealt with. I run a daycare. It's the cheapest daycare around because I always dreamed of giving back in some way to working families. And so I was able to make it work. It is popular, but we always do our best to take kids when needed. My husband's ex and her husband have kids together. Their youngest 2 are not in school, and their household was hit hard by COVID, so they tried to register their kids in my daycare. I rejected them. I did so because I did not feel like it would be healthy to have that extra layer of dealing with each other. The woman already hates me, has told me not to touch her kids. And while I run the place, I also work there. With the kids. So never interacting with her kids will not be a thing that can happen. And I am afraid she would go out of her way to try and get me shut down as some petty revenge thing. The issue is, she was pissed about the rejection and told my stepkids, and they told my husband's family, who now think I'm the a-hole, as well as the ex of my stepkids, because this could have been me showing my stepkids that I'm willing to go out of my way for their other family. And that is fine. Except I have always done my best to be kind, to be friendly, to not fight, and it wasn't enough. I don't see this one thing tipping the scale after a decade. But I want to know if I'm the a-hole for rejecting the kids from my daycare? Not the a-hole. She asked you not to touch her kids. How can you do that if they're at your daycare? OP is being smart and protecting herself, her employees, and her business. All it takes is one allegation, and she could lose everything. Suppose on if the kiddos has an accident. What's to stop the mother from alleging abuse? Part of me thinks that's the mother's end goal anyway. She cannot stand OP. So why out of every other childcare situation known to humanity would she want her kids to be cared for by OP? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your decision seems well thought out, and you have the right to do what's best to protect your own family and business. I can't even comprehend after everything she has done to you that she would even think this was okay to try to enroll her kids with you. Though it may very well have been another ploy to make you look bad. As in, she knew you'd say no. She knew it would cause more friction, and it was just another way to make you look bad to your stepkids. I'm sorry you have to experience all of this from your husband's ex, but your continued ability rising above the situation is a testimony to your character, and, well, her behavior is a testament to her own. Good luck. Not the a-hole. It sounds like you have a damn good reason not to be anywhere near her kids. If she's already told you not to touch her kids, then tries to enroll said kids at your daycare, yeah, I'd be worried too that she's trying to pull something. Not the a-hole. This would be a crap show waiting to happen if you allowed those kids in. Imagine they have a serious accident at daycare, or even not so overly serious but get a bruised knee, etc. Who do you think is getting the blame regardless of the circumstances? I'm about to sound like an a-hole, but the ex could be picturing a huge insurance payout if something were to happen. 100% you did the right thing rejecting them. This has been my fear too. Like maybe even a small paper cut, I could see sending her over the edge. Next story. Am I the a-hole for manipulating my daughter's marriage? From the title, I'm sure I, 49 male, do sound like one. My eldest daughter seems to believe I am, so wanted to know if she's right. A couple years ago, my daughter Nat, who was 21 at the time, introduced us to her fiancé, a 46-year-old man, literally 1 year younger than me. Everyone in the family was livid. My ex-wife, and so was I, honestly. It took a lot of restraint not to lose control the first time I met him. Nat said they met at work. He wasn't her direct supervisor due to them working different departments, but that still didn't sit right with me. She swore up and down they're in love and they were gonna make it work. Nat is a sweet girl, very smart and mature, but the first time I met him, I saw right through him. Actually got some pretty good advice from a close friend of mine. He encouraged me to befriend the guy, support my daughter even if I don't support it. But be his friend in a way that makes my daughter see his real age and show how completely different they really are. I wasn't over the top with it, but I did attempt to become close with him, not that I enjoyed any second of it. When they'd come over for a visit, we spent hours talking about politics, work, what our plans were once we finally hit retirement, shared stories from childhood. Sometimes I could tell the conversations would bore my daughter, even when we'd include her in them. It's been over a year since they got married, and Nat decided to leave him a few weeks ago. She asked me for help finding an attorney, so me and her mom have been helping out with that. She left other place, so at the moment she's staying with me. As I suspected, she realized they were not compatible at all, and it just felt weird according to her how similar me and him are. I'll be honest, I'm relieved I won't have to be his friend anymore. Everyone came over for Father's Day. Nat went with her brother to buy more chips and sodas, so it was only me and eldest daughter. My eldest daughter asked if I'd be able to cope with not having my buddy anymore, and I said of course. It's not like I enjoy being around the guy. She asked what I meant, and I explained I only became friendly with him so that Nat could see more of his actual age, how different they actually are, and so that she wouldn't shut me out of her life. My daughter is taking it like I intentionally manipulated the man in order to end his marriage. She thinks now that I'm an a-hole for befriending him under false pretenses, just to get Nat to leave him, and it's basically my fault they're divorcing. I'm not sure how it would be my fault. Nat said herself she saw how completely incompatible they were. But she does seem to think I was one for being part of why she left him. Honestly, I'm lost here. Am I the a-hole? Added to clarify, this conversation was with my other daughter, not with Nat. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You did good. Clearly, you were right about him. If you didn't expedite the process, she would have only realized it 3 to 5 years from now. She's upset because you were right and she was wrong. Sadly, this is the correct answer, only because it sucks she got taken advantage of to begin with. Not the a-hole. You were being polite and cordial, even if you meant to kill him with kindness and expose him, because that's just who he is. A 46-year-old man. Her father's peer, not her own. There was no deceit or malice in your actions, only concern and support for your daughter and her husband, even if you didn't approve. I hope she can recover and be well from the divorce, and ends up happy as both an individual person and in any future relationships. If the fiancé had been a rage but unlikable for some reason, the same approach would have been a good one as well. 21 is still young enough to be in rebel mode. Not giving the daughter something to rebel against and not making staying with him feel necessary to save face was a good decision. Not the a-hole. Your only mistake was not taking this little bit of showmanship to the grave. Her marriage didn't end because of you. It ended because she realized, with a bit of indirect help, that this relationship was not what she wanted. For real, why did he have to tell his daughter about that? What was Opie thinking? It's not something you brag about. After all, the marriage ended already. You're the a-hole for giving the plot away. My eldest daughter asked if I'd be able to cope with not having my buddy anymore. No, it made my daughter unhappy. There was no reason to monologue like a Bond villain. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for making my husband fish out our son's dirty diaper from the water? Hello. Me, female 29, and my husband, male 33, haven't gone out in a while, about 4 months. And the reason for that is he lost his best friend. They were like brothers, and this loss was very devastating for my husband. As a result, he's become less active and less interested in doing things. I wanted to cheer him up and get some family time together, and since weather is hot, I wanted us to go have fun at the beach. We had a tent at the beach and brought our own food and stuff we needed to spend the day. My husband wanted to change our son's diaper, so I let him handle it while I prepared a meal. When finished, I asked him to wrap the dirty diaper and put it in the trash bin outside. He went outside for a minute, then came back. I then went outside the tent and saw a teenager telling me my husband just tossed our son's dirty diaper in the water. I was shocked. I confronted him and asked why he didn't dispose the diaper in the trash bin. He said he couldn't find it after looking, and decided to toss the diaper into the water because he was too tired to walk further. I said it was unhygienic and disgusting to throw it into the water where people are swimming. His defense was that the waves were going to carry it away. I got so mad at him and told him to quickly fish it out the water because this was disgusting and disrespectful to nature and the people on the beach. He said he could barely see it, so no one would notice. I said someone could have got this on video and posted it, making us look horrible. I pressured him to go after he wanted me to go. He went and was able to get it out, then threw a fit saying I made him go into the water knowing he wasn't prepared, and that it wasn't an emergency, it was just a diaper and people pee in the sea, so what is the difference? He said I knew how much he's been struggling in the past months, and wanted to enjoy a day out on the beach, but I treated him like a child and forced him to make a huge amount of effort to get the diaper out. He remained upset the rest of the day, claiming I exaggerated with how pushy I was. So, did I really ruin the day out for him by making him do that? Not the a-hole. That was lazy and disgusting of him, and he acted like a toddler. If he can't be asked to be an adult, he doesn't need to go on vacations. I understand his feeling down, but that's not an excuse. Also, the husband was confused why he can't throw pee into water. Almost all single-use diapers are not biodegradable and include a variety of plastic-based ingredients. But I treated him like a child and forced him to make a huge amount of effort to get the diaper out. You treated him like a child because he behaved like a child. The huge amount of effort, lol, was a consequence of his own actions. Piggybacking because I think you summed it up nicely. Husband acted like a child, belittling a used diaper into the water out of sheer laziness. Hope he's not the a-hole. Anyone who chooses to litter is the a-hole. Especially when that litter contains human waste. Especially when that litter is a diaper, which are known for being particularly damaging to the environment as they do not break down quickly or easily. A disposable diaper can take 500 years to break down. People pee in the sea, so what is the difference? Urine dissipates very quickly in seawater and is mostly made up of water. People can still step in a pile of baby poop, and a disposable diaper is made out of materials that take years to break down. And the earth is not a trash can. Not a day-haul. Grieving is no excuse to not use a trash can. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help out with child's funeral expenses? My ex-wife lost her son recently, who was 13. I'm not sure of the full details, but only that she's struggling with paying for the funeral. He's not my biological son, but for the first 5 months of his life, I thought he was. My wife had been awfully secretive, and I started to have my doubts when I learned she was having an affair. Apparently, the affair partner I caught her with was not even the father. We had a paternity test done to prove that. And neither was I. Tried to see if at least being in the boy's life would be a possibility, but ultimately it was too painful and I couldn't cope with the rage and hatred. We divorced. The only thing that kept me attached to either of them was the child support payments because she conveniently never looked for his biological father. My ex called my office recently wanting to talk and brought this whole thing up. I wanted to say so many things to her, but managed to at least tell her my condolences for her loss. But there's no way I'm going to help pay for all that even if she's struggling financially. She could set up a GoFundMe or do some fundraiser to make money, but do not ask me to pay more than what I've already had to. The conversation was going nowhere since she wouldn't stop begging me to change my mind. I hung up. Next in line to call was my mom. She's the only one in the family who stayed in her son's life, and I was fine with that as long as she didn't bother me with it. My mom's helping to pay for some of the expenses too, but she's asking me to please have a heart because he was my child at some period, and even if my ex doesn't deserve it, find it in me to do it anyways. I repeated what I told my ex, then reminded her that I'm currently expecting a child with my fiancé, and not going to waste thousands of dollars on a kid that wasn't mine in the end, when that's up to my ex to figure out. She's mad at me now, of course. So is my ex, who decided to blast the situation online. She made a post asking for donations since I'm refusing to help contribute, and specifically mentioned me so others are aware. My family is divided in this. Majority believe I'm in the right, but the ones against it are being more vocal about it, and feel I am in a way being an A because she's a mother who just lost her son. Having a hard time seeing it that way, so that's why I'd like to ask here. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Wanted to add since some are asking. Yes, the child support was for him. That was the decision the court made in the end since I had been playing an active role in his life as a dad for months, and since I'm listed on the birth certificate as his father. Paternity test says otherwise, but in the end it didn't matter. Just wanted to clarify. Now for the top comments. Not Dayhole. Sure, she has lost her son, and that's a horrible situation to be in. However, you are not responsible for the place she found herself in. From your story, it seems like you paid 13 years of child support for a kid who was not yours. That's already a lot. Not a day-hole. If she's blasting you online, you would be justified in making your own post detailing how she betrayed and deceived you, and how this wasn't your child. I've thought about that, but I'm not sure if I want to get further involved in this situation than I already am. Everyone knows she cheated. They all know her son wasn't mine, and that I wasn't involved since. Opie, follow your instincts and don't make a post. There's no situation where you put a grieving mother on blast and look like the good guy. Not a day-hole. You spent 13 years paying child support for a child that wasn't yours. I think you've paid your share. Anyone who thinks you should pay has the ability to open their wallet and make a contribution themselves. This right here. Opie has no more responsibility or investment in this situation than literally anyone else on this planet. Anyone saying Opie should pay needs to open their wallets and contribute first. Charity starts at home. Nobody will though. Funny how quick people are to try and spend somebody else's money for them. Not Dayhall. Did I read this correctly? You were paying child support even though a paternity test showed you were not a father. My heart goes out to anyone who has lost a child, but you have no legal or moral obligation to help pay for anything. And for her to put you on blast for it is not right. She's grieving, so please don't let it get to you. I would not engage her or anyone in any further conversations about this other than to state you are not the child's father and have no obligation to the situation. And if they feel so strongly about it, they can help her pay for it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother out on social media for the real reason she didn't go to my sister's funeral? So last year, my 30 female sister 40 passed away suddenly, and because of the pandemic, we were limited to the number of people we could invite to the funeral. And as my sister's next of kin, the decision fell to me to choose who would come. We both went no contact with our mother when we moved out because of how she mistreated us, but I kept her on Facebook in case of family emergencies. So I informed her of my sister's death and that she wasn't invited to the funeral. It was a unanimous decision with the rest of the family that she wasn't to come, not just me. Now fast forward to yesterday, and I was scrolling through Facebook. It was the anniversary yesterday, and on my mother's wall was a post about how it was a shame she couldn't go to my sister's funeral. But because she was high risk, she decided not to go and allow someone else to go instead. I saw red and replied to the post about how she was lying, and that she wasn't invited because of what she did to us, and that my sister wouldn't have wanted her there anyway, and not because she was high risk as she said. Her husband messaged me this morning saying I was a nahal, and now my mother is getting ostracized and her friends are ignoring her, and that I could have asked to take the post down in the PMs instead of being public. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She made the thing public. Your response was in the same forum. Virtue signaling for sympathy to play the victim when she was in fact the abuser is just a continuation of the same behavior. That's the risk you take for internet karma when you make fake sympathy posts. Someone will call you out on it. Oh no. Your mother posted, expecting sympathy likes, playing the selfless grieving parent, and you shot her down in flames? Bravo. It seems like she's been lying to her friends. It has been exposed by her own arrogance. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry about your sister. I hope you're doing okay. I was in a bad place yesterday. Also realized I shouldn't have gone on Facebook, but lessons learned. I'm doing better though. I've calmed down now and feeling better. You returned the pain to sender. Well done. Let her keep it, and you can breathe again. My condolences. Not the a-hole, just not the a-hole. She mistreated you guys, then lied on Facebook about not being able to come because she's high risk. Not the a-hole. She knows you are friends on Facebook, so you have a chance to see her lies. She wants to lie and play stupid games. She gets to win the stupid prizes. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for snapping back at my stepsister when she asked if I was going to name my daughter after her grandma? I, 26 female, am not close to my step-family. I have a good relationship with my mom, but that's about it. I have 3 step-siblings. Kate, 26 female, Peter, 24 male, and Laura, 18 female. The reason I say I'm not close to them is I'm not close to any of them and never was. Their grandma / my stepfather's mother died a couple of years ago, and they were all very close to her, and Kate was especially so. I'm 6 months pregnant with a girl, announced on Facebook for all those not close to us a week ago. Said we had a name and would not be revealing in the comments in response to someone. 2 days after the post, Kate and I are at my mom at her dad's house, where she comes up to me all annoyed and says, "I'm not naming my kid after her grandmother, am I?" This came out of nowhere. Not one word spoken in 20 minutes beforehand, and then she throws that at me like I gave any indication that I was naming her after the woman. I snapped back, why would I name my child after her stepsister's grandmother? And that she had no reason to think I would ever do that. Curious saying, good. It's not your name to use, and then my stepfather getting pissed that I would talk to his daughter like that, but mostly say what I did about his mom. He seems to believe I should want to use his mom's name for my kid. My mom told them there was no need to fight about this, and she and I weren't close, so it makes sense I wouldn't think of using the name. He still thinks I'm a prick though. My stepfather asked me to apologize for disrespecting his family, but especially his daughter and mother. And Kate is now posting on social media that I rudely rejected their family. Coming from the girl who has nothing to do with Laura because they're not full sisters, but that's beside the point. I just find it hypocritical. Am I the a-hole for how I responded? Now for the comments. The reason I say I'm not close to them is I am not close to any of them. Thank you for clearing that up. Not the a-hole. That's my favorite part. Not the a-hole, Opie. You matched her tone and they got mad. Stepsister unprompted. You better not be using my grandma's name. You have no right. Opie. Lol. Why the hell would I use your grandma's name? Stepdad. The disrespect. How can you not want to use the name we don't want you to use? Not the a-hole. They seem mad they can't deny you something. Like they wanted to be able to tell you no. Lol, right? There was no winning here. Either she starts World War III by considering the name, or she deeply wounds the entire Step family by not considering it. No wonder they are not close because they are not close. They are difficult because they are difficult. Good grief. Huge not the a-hole. I'm not sure when your mother remarried, but it seems like Kate's father never even made an attempt to try and connect with you. He should get over himself at his high-mindedness. You don't have to apologize for answering Kate's question, and if he should be mad at anyone, it should be at her for asking. Since I was 9, I think. I know that's how long we've been in each other's lives. But honestly, we were never exactly family. Wow, that's earlier than I thought. From what I read, I would have assumed it was an extremely late marriage after you'd been grown up. He's usually the a-hole and doesn't see you as family, just as an old roommate or something. He has no right, especially since Kate asked you an invasive question that you already said you wouldn't tell the name till the baby was born. They need to get over themselves. Yeah, a lot of people assume things were a certain way because of the dynamics. They assume my mom married her husband when we were all older because of the lack of family, anything between us. They assume Kate and Peter were raised in a different household to Laura because you would never realize they're siblings. They have no relationship, but that's just the way things have always been. I'm still not sure why she thought I would ever name my child after her grandmother. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife if she insists that my sister move out, I won't defend her or her choice? I, 34 male, am married with 2 kids, 3 female and 3 female. And over the past year, my sister Amy, 19 female, has been living with me and my wife, Leah, 36 female, because of the pandemic. My parents live in another state, and the only reason they felt comfortable with Amy going to college out of state was because my wife and I promised to be there for her in case of trouble. After the shutdown, Amy moved in with us and eventually decided to take some time off because she felt too stressed out. Initially, Leia seemed fine with that because Amy got a job and started helping around the house. Examples: doing all the laundry, cleaning the living room, doing the grocery shopping, paying for the groceries, cooking breakfast 4 days a week, cooking dinner 3 days a week, cleaning the kitchen, vacuuming, and babysitting so long as we gave her 48-hour notice. Amy did all of this to show how grateful she was to us, and because she wasn't paying rent. After Amy got a job, I sat down with her and worked out budgeting system with her, so once she went back to school, she could put her money towards college expenses. She rarely buys any luxuries for herself, and asks me to double-check her finances regularly so I know she's not just blowing it. I thought everything was great, until Leia told me that she wanted Amy out. When I inquired why, she at first didn't give a real reason for me to support it, and then I found out that Leia's cousin got a new job near where we lived and needed a place to stay, and would offer to pay us rent until they got their own place. Leia feels like Amy has stayed long enough, and wants someone who can offer financial contribution. I told her that I didn't support this decision, and would not be kicking my baby sister out when she's putting in the work to better herself. I was upset, and said that if she wanted Amy out, then she'd have to tell her herself, but warned her that my parents would see her as greedy and not expect me to defend her. Now Leia isn't talking to me, and after a couple of days I need to ask, am I the a-hole? Edited to add. Forgot to add, sorry. But yes, I did run Amy paying rent by Leia as a compromise. However, Amy barely makes above minimum wage, and even if she factor in paying rent, it wouldn't be nearly as much as what Leia's cousin is offering. Also, it hasn't been explicitly said, but it looks like Leia's cousin will pay rent but not help around the house. At most, just clean up after themselves. Not Dayhall. Your sister was not leeching. In fact, she contributed a lot to the household by doing all the chores you listed. It might cost way more to hire someone to do all that for you than your wife's cousin would potentially pay in rent. So financial argument is sort of invalid. Exactly. Unless the cousin is going to be paying enough rent to cover the house payment, or the entire rent payment if Opie's renting. But then they will be worse off if Amy's told to go. All the stuff she's doing is allowing Leia to get a nice break from all that stuff. I would let Amy live with me rent-free too, if she was doing all that and I don't even have small kids for babysitting duty. Not Dayhall. Also make sure she knows that if she kicks out your sister, that you won't allow her cousin to move in. If she tries to argue that this is her house too, then respond exactly. It's our house. Neither of us gets unilateral control over what happens. If you have the right to nix my sister staying here, then I have the right to nix your cousin staying here. This right here. I really hope more people see this comment. It's not right for her to be able to make those kinds of decisions on her own. If she doesn't want a sister, great. But if he doesn't want a cousin to live there, then they can't. They both have to agree on who lives in their house, not just her. If she can veto someone, he can too. Not Dayhall. Your wife is committing familial harakiri. Absolutely not. She will alienate your whole family forever over a few bucks. Just no. Not Dayhall. You're not even straight up telling her no. You're saying that if she makes this decision, she has to face the consequences. What did she think would happen otherwise? That you'd somehow talk your family down and convince them that she made the right choice?